Welcome, Titan community, to episode 6 Titan Talk. Wasn't that freaking sweet, right? So we just got some new graphics and everything for the whole podcast. We got, instead of all those little pictures and stuff, we got some branded stuff now. All right. So absolutely. Let me know in the chat where you guys are watching from. Let's let some people get in here. Make sure you let everybody know in the Discord and the Telegram. We are live. We're going to be talking about today. The main topic that we're going to be talking about is the benefits of how we have had Betswirl, Play, Lottery running for a little bit now. Obviously, Betswirl is one of the newest ones, and then Lottery right after that. But we've had Play in there for a little bit, and we're just going to run through what's called KPIs. So one thing that you do in the investing world stuff or anything like that to measure performance is key performance indicators. So shout out to freaking Wayne once again. I mean, he's nailing this TitanChess.com out of the water. So if you guys, I'm gonna put the website in the chat right now. If you want to go along with me, it's TitanChess.com, and it is amazing. So we got Alan here from Dublin. What's up? What's up, Alan? We got Johnny. What's up, Johnny? From oh, I thought you put where you're from. No, you said what is up, Austin? What's up? What's up? Yeah, we got a special guest today. All right, we got a special guest today. So when we bring up into Titan Focus and we start going over the specifics of what the team has been doing, kind of like what is just going on in the market right now and why the price is the way it is, why the market is the way it is, because there is a lot to cover. But yes, Pickles Cage is going to be on for our special guest today. We always like having guests. Let's see here. And then one thing that I will kind of, as a disclaimer, I'm just sitting here letting a few people get in the live stream, is we aren't going to be going over a ton of I know how we usually have like a little mini AMA and stuff like that, because we don't have any people from the core team on today, because I'm not a part of the core team. I don't know the insider scoop of everything when it comes to Titano, so we can't accurately answer that. But if you do have any questions that maybe we can't answer, absolutely drop them in the chat. And if I can answer it or Pickles can answer it, we can absolutely get to that. So just as a disclaimer, because some people were wanting to talk about like, hey, what's the future utilities? Some was like, what's the future like indicators on if they are fulfilling everything? Like, I can't personally answer that, and neither can Pickles, but we'll try to get as many questions answered as possible with the best accuracy possible. All right. So without further ado, let's get into the beginning of this Titan Talk. We got 76 people in there. So I should see, if I upload or if I go to YouTube right now, I should see 76 likes. We got 40 likes, but it's all right. It's all right. Hit that like button, man. That's what this is for. This is to provide value to you guys. So if you really do find value in this, let me know by hitting that like button. So without further ado, let's get into Titan stats. Man, that's pretty sweet, ain't it? That's pretty sweet. All right, I'm going to share my screen, and we are going over to titanchest.com, just like I shared with you guys in the chat. You can follow along with me, or you can just watch the screen. No big deal. We're going over the KPI here in a minute, but I just want to show you guys these quick stats that we talk about every single week. So the price has been hovering around 0.4 to 5 cents right now. We got a market cap of $28 million with a 6.5 million treasury, literally exact, with an RFV of 2.2 million. One thing I want to note this week is we do have extreme fear in the market. We have crazy fear in the market. We have been for a while now, with a BNB price that has just suddenly I mean, look at this. So if you click on this little chart here, it pops up the chart from, so literally 610 from yesterday. I mean, we were hovering around for BNB, and as you guys know, the reason why we care about BNB so much is we are paired to BNB. So when BNB goes up or down, so does Titano usually. So we have a 288. We were hovering around there, and then literally as of 4 this morning, my time, it just started dramatically decreasing. But one thing I would like to show you guys is check this out. So now that we have, and we're going to be getting into this a little more specifically, look at this. The Titano tokens that have been burned is on an increase in the past 24 hours. I mean, it's literally just going crazy with how many burns with the lottery, the play, the Betswirl stuff that we've been doing. So that's a really cool metric to make sure you're watching for. So let's get into the chat. Let me see if anybody else. Let me know if you guys are loving to seeing these burns. What's up? What's up? What's up, guys? Look at the graphics. Absolutely, the graphics are really cool, ain't it? But yeah, so the one thing that I really want to make sure you guys are aware of is, yes, Betswirl lottery play. These are really taking those tokens. It's helping taking those tokens off the circulating supply, so that way we can make sure we are trying as hard as possible to get deflationary mechanisms into Titano as best as possible. So now let's get into Titano news. All right, so we are going to bring up Pickles Cage. Welcome, my friend.
Hey Titans, how's it going? How's it going? Those graphics, Austin.
Isn't that sweet?
Those are a game changer.
Yeah. See, we were using just pictures, and I just made like these random pictures, like how I do with these thumbnails. But those are next level. Those are next level. So shout out to the Titan that was helping us out with that.
I'm excited. You know, we're in a bear market right now, and there's only so much that you can do with, with price and things like that when the whole market's going down. But one thing that Titano keeps doing, and with the core team especially keeps doing, is they keep building. And so that way, when this market does go bull, we have a nice foundation. So, in the last 2 weeks with the lottery, with Betswirl, play and everything else, these are building really good foundations. And now we have, our Titan Talks are weekly now, and they have, even more professional graphics. And of course, we always have Austin here. So, there's a lot of good things happening behind the scenes that are going to set us up nicely for when this market does turn around.
Yeah. And I get it. We all get it, especially the team. Like I get it, when people are frustrated with their portfolios and stuff. I mean, I don't like looking at my portfolio from being X amount of money and every single day it's going down or whatever. But I mean, it is what it is, right? And one thing with that is, and we just can't control what the news happens, because I tell people this all the time. I have to reiterate this. The news, politics, the economy, all these different things affects the stock market. When the stock market is affected in a negative way, that tends to affect Bitcoin in a negative way. When Bitcoin's affected in a negative way, that bleeds into everything else here in crypto, especially altcoins. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys, because this is one thing that I thought was really, really interesting, and that I want to make sure everybody's aware of, is the United States Consumer Price Index. So in addition to the Consumer Price Index, we ended off with May with another 8.6% inflation rate, with the previous being 8.3. So that created a ton of fear, panic. Like, people hated it. People did not want to see that. I think a lot of people was really expecting it to not be as bad as it was. So you want to talk a little bit about that? Do you have anything you want to say to that, Pickles?
I mean, just look at the price at the gas pumps. Look at buying meat. I mean, like, you can't even buy a steak in a grocery store now without paying. At least where, Austin and I live in a similar area. It's very expensive where we're at. Just groceries, things like that, and those do affect crypto. It really does. And altcoins right now are just taking a beating. But as we've seen in the past, this is just temporary. It's going to rebound. Crypto is going to rebound. It just might take some time, and inflation's going to slow down globally eventually. And, in my opinion, we're really this is the effects of the pandemic, with all the money we had to pump into the economy during the pandemic. That's starting to catch up to us.
Absolutely. Yeah. All that money printed. I mean, and sadly enough, right? What happens, because I know a lot of our viewers may not be American or from America, but a lot of things that America does, it usually relates to the overall world and the news, the economy, prices in the crypto world, right? The stock market. It usually kind of relates. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just looking at my 401k, which is supposed to be a lot less risky than crypto, and it's down significantly. I mean, I'm
Yep.
nowhere
Yep.
near retirement age, so it's fine. But I mean, it's not Titano is not unique. Altcoins are not unique to this. Everything's getting hit right now, and I just tell people we just have to have some patience, and we'll get through this.
Yeah, and just like what Pickle said, right? So in the military or in the federal government realm, we have what's called a TSP. Okay, so it's
Yeah,
the
mine's a
financial product.
TSP as well.
Oh, you got it. Okay, so yeah, so
Yeah,
that's what they're talking about, right?
I'm on the
It's
same
just
vein.
a
Yep.
401k in the federal world. So with the TSP, I mean, it's one of the most safest places you can probably put your money. Now, obviously, it's not like because it's there, right? It's a federal way to put your money somewhere, so that way when you reach retirement age, you can cash out. Either if you're doing the Roth, it's tax free. If you're doing the traditional, you can write off on your taxes every year. But with that, right? Nothing's safe. I looked at my TSP the other day. I think I went from literally like 20 some $1,000s and the value went down to like I think 14, 15. Like, like it's nothing safe. Everything is down. My stock portfolio, I mean, it's down. My blue chip crypto portfolio versus all my altcoin stuff, everything is absolutely down. So let me see here. Let's talk a little bit specific in Titano now. We're going to get to Titan Focus because that was really the only news I wanted to kind of highlight because of what is happening right now in conjunction with BNB, right? If we want to go into specifics of Titano, Titano is paired with BNB. If BNB goes up or down, I mean, we see that happen with Titano as well. So let's get into actual Titan Focus, and we're going to get into the KPIs and how Betswirl, the lottery, the play, everything is actually positively affecting the protocol, whether it's in a crazy, crazy market or not. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. So, all right, we're here on titanchess.com. Now, if you guys want to follow along with me, like I said, I dropped the link in the chat, but you can go down here to dashboards, okay? And once you go to dashboards, we go to KPI trackers. So you can see the changes between the Titano performance based on this week, last week, and the month, and compare the data and impact on major events. So we can actually see how the consumer price index and all that kind of affected it as well, right? So I love this, right? You can select your filters here. You can choose exactly what you want to see if you just want to see the inflation to burn ratio or whatever, if you want to see all of them. So we see that in this week, we started out with 5.2, what is that, 5.2 billion tokens in circulating supply, and we ended up with 5.7 with tokens. I mean, look at that, 17 million. Like, that's crazy. This is one thing I really wanted to highlight because I was kind of roughly just looking over this, but I also wanted to have like a live reaction to this. I'm seeing this for the first time like you guys are, but I kind of just skimmed over it. And this is the only thing I really looked at is the burn tokens. So we started out this week on the 6th, okay, the 6th of June, and now today is the 11th. We started out with 17.7 million tokens burned, and we ended up with 120 million tokens, a 575% increase. Like, isn't that crazy, Pickles? Like, that's freaking nuts.
I mean, when you look at that, that's like 120 million tokens burned is equivalent to removing 10 of the top 20 holders out of circulation. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
removing 10 whales, like 10 of the biggest whales out of the project. Like that's an incredible amount of Titano. And it's really showing how, and we're doing this with low volume right now. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
imagine when we, during when the market was more bullish, we had some days $3 million in volume. Right now, we have some days where we're around $130,000 in volume. I mean, think about when that volume goes 30x back to where it was. Just the amount I know that will be burned on Switch, and then the prices are going up, so you're going to have more people playing the lottery and more people doing play. Like, this is just the beginning of these burns. Like, they should go exponential from here.
Absolutely. And another, just to really hit this home, right? Exactly what Pickle has just said. This is just the beginning. And I want you guys to see, right? Because I don't want you guys to think I'm hyping this up. I want to be as real with you guys as possible. Look at this. Okay, so June 6th to June 11th, okay, that's this week currently that we're looking at. We had a circulating supply increase, okay, but so this is like the inflationary mechanisms of the rebases, right? Where we had the circulating supply increase by 9.1%. We went from 5.2 to 5.7 billion tokens. Check out what last week is. Look at this. Last week, when we did not have Betswirl in full effect, right, for that full week, it literally went from 4.6 billion to 5.2, a 13% increase in circulating supply. So you can already see through all three of these main factors, plus the DEX, where people buy stuff and then part of the fees get sent to get burned and taken out of circulation. I mean, now everything is kind of in full swing, and we're still not done with all these partnerships. And you can see the dent that has been taking on the circulating supply of every single week, kind of putting a really big dent on that. And you can even see the tokens. We only burned 17.7 million, and I mean, just in this week alone, we started with 17.7 million burn. I mean, it just exponentially, like Pickle said. I mean, it just literally blew it out of the water of the amount of tokens. So, isn't that crazy, dude?
Yeah, this is shout out to Wayne for making
Yeah.
the Titan test. That this is awesome. I think it's a really great tool for Titans to look at to put this in perspective, because this just isn't some hypothetical where Austin and I or someone else is saying, like, when we have all these utilities and the burns are coming, like,
Yep.
you can see this. Like, that is an incredible amount of Titano burnt and an incredible increase. And we are literally just at the beginning of this. Inflation is not as big of a problem, or not really a problem that people might think it is, because the team knew that with a 1.9% or 102,000% APY, that inflation obviously would be an issue. But that was known when they made Titano. When Julius and Robin Martini and the devs created Titano, they knew that it was going to be hyperinflationary, and they knew that with Titano needed to come these utilities to curb the inflation. So, I mean, they invented this protocol. They know this protocol, and you're starting to see what we've been talking about for a few months now. That once this whole entire ecosystem is built out, because Titano is an entire ecosystem, that's the vision of Titano. We are an ecosystem that was made by incredibly intelligent and developers, and this was all foreseen before. They knew that they were going to have to make these utilities and eventually a DEX and things that would curb inflation, and we're seeing that. And shout out to Wayne to making this visual, because I think it's so helpful for people to look at this and see that these devs do know what they're doing, and it's incredible. So I'm really excited, and I think people should definitely take a look at Titan Ho Chest if you haven't already, or Titan Chest, and it's definitely something we can keep featuring in these Titan talks.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like this is going to be a staple, because Wayne even sent me a message. He was like, "Hey, dude, use this. You should use this for when you do the quick stats." Because before, as you guys seen, real world, when I was doing the quick stats of finding all these different things, I was going from the Binance Smart Chain scan to the Discord to see all this stuff. Now everything is literally here that you can see. And yeah, just to reiterate once more what Pickle said, you don't have to believe us now. You don't have to take the what the team's saying. You don't have to take that. All the stats is here, right? Like you can see exactly, like we're not saying wait until the utilities, or the utilities is working. I promise you can see firsthand as an investor or as a speculative investor, if you're not invested yet and you want to kind of see what this project is really doing to improve the protocol. And you can see right here, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You can see we have dramatically burned more tokens and taken them out of circulating supply than the circulating supply has increased. And you can literally copy and paste that from last week. And the Betswirl did happen on June 6th, correct? I think it happened. Yeah, the Betswirl partnership happened on June 4th. Okay, so June 4th. So that was mid last week when we weren't even really burning that many tokens. So yeah, you can see a full week of Betswirl in circulation with the overall protocol. So that's awesome. And then this inflation to burn ratio, I mean, that's incredible. And I'm excited to actually see now that we're on week 2. So next week when we do Titan Talk, I'm excited to see this just consistently get bigger. And we even gained some holders too. Look at that, 77,832 to 77,934. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be hard to attract holders to any project in a bear market. People are not putting their money in crypto right now, so the fact that we did increase holders in a week, even though it might not be as large of an amount as some people might want to think, that's actually really good because most projects are bleeding out holders right now. Uh, During these type of market conditions, people tend to leave riskier projects such as crypto projects and try to go into bonds or more blue chip stocks. So the fact that we did increase holders, I find that phenomenal and bullish for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to go and just because now we've been serious for a while now. I want to do a meme of the week, and someone actually tagged me in this one, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious. So if you guys missed last week's episode when David was on, we kind of hinted around with the TikToker and stuff like that because we have been in the works now with working with TikToker. I don't know who the TikToker is, so just disclaimer there. So let's get into meme of the week. There's no animation with that one. So let's go over to the Discord here. And if you scroll down, this is where I get all of the memes. So if you scroll down to the meme channel here, shout out to Sinister. So Sinister tagged me in this. David is this David and Austin 5 million followers. It's like David's throw me under the bus here.
Oh my
I thought
God,
that
that is incredible. We're getting rid of
David's looking at the
Austin
TikToker.
and
Yeah,
we're
we're
getting
getting
that
rid of Austin.
TikToker.
He's chopped liver now.
That's whoever made that. Bravo! I love that. I love that meme.
So let me know in the chat, guys. Let me know, because obviously, like I said at the beginning of this Titan Talk, Pickles and I aren't a part of the core team of Titano. We don't get the juicy insider information, but I'm sure there's some things with our experience with Pickles being a moderator that we could maybe answer. So let's see. Let me look in the chat here. Let's look.
I do see one from Matt. He said a few things. One, he said, well, they're not really questions. They're more comments on things he made that I said. He said one pronounces it Titano and the other one pronounces it Titano. You literally can't make this up. All right. Austin and I we're actually in the same somewhat region, but
Yeah.
we are from, if you've never been to the United States, there's very distinct regions and distinct accents. We are from two very different places accent wise.
Yeah.
So you will hear us pronounce words differently. Um, that's literally based on where we grew up. That's just the reality of the United States and how it is. And then Matt also made a comment, three devs. Um, I was more saying that the three creators, we've had more than three devs work on different aspects of the protocol, but I was talking about the three main creators of the core team at that part.
Awesome. And then Baraz gave a little suggestion here. We should have a Titano weather segment and have Austin flailing in front of a chart. Oh my god. Let's
I mean,
see.
our
Let's
graphics
see.
game has really stepped up, so I think we should
Right,
do it.
We went from these little static pictures to actually getting it in here. Let's see. Oh yeah, and then Dip's dropping some really good comments here. So they were talking about the consumer price index before we were even bringing it up, and then Dip said here on July 28th. Okay, so another key date if you guys want to write down July 28th, the GDP data comes out. If it's still negative, we have confirmed recession by textbook definition. This is actually interesting. I'm kind of hear your point, Pickles. I personally think we've been in a recession for a minute now. Obviously, there's different metrics out. I mean, you can kind of it. I mean, it could be subjective. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Pickles?
So I take a somewhat different approach. Obviously, in our lifetime, you and I, we've experienced the 2008 recession, which was
Yeah.
really bad. I think we're in downturn in the economy, but for me, one metric that's really important that I look at is unemployment rate. And at least in the United States, our unemployment rate is actually really low right now. So people have jobs and people are working. The
Yeah.
problem is that wages aren't necessarily keeping up with inflation. If we paired the inflation with, I think our unemployment rate's like 3.6 or something, which is pretty low. But in 2008, when we were over 13% unemployment rate, if you paired today's inflation with a 13% unemployment rate, I think we would be in really big trouble. So I do think, for me personally, I think this is more COVID catching up to us when we injected so much money into the economy. Um,
Yeah.
Probably more than we should have, but at the time, people were unable to work, and um, there was people were dying. So, I'm not really like I'm not pointing any fingers at the government or anything like that, but I think this is going to be a lot more temporary than 2008 through 2012, when we really were in a bad spot economically.
Throwing out home loans like it was candy.
Yeah, exactly. So that they've learned those lessons, and like I said, our unemployment rate's so low that I think once inflation, we don't have a problem where there's no jobs and high inflation. So
Right.
we only need to solve one problem. So we need to bring down inflation, but then people already have jobs. So I think bringing down one negative thing in the economy is a lot easier than balancing several.
Yeah, and because people, one thing that they were kind of attributing what's going on right now in the market is the housing market here in the U.S. If you guys are not familiar, it's been crazy, and it's been crazy for a while now, pretty much ever since COVID too. And like when I first got a property back in 2020, I mean, I got a super super low interest rate, like basically free money at that point. And now with everything going back up, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, is the housing bubble going to happen?" I personally don't see it popping anytime soon, just because with what happened, like Pickle is saying, 2008, 2009, or 2007, 2008, with what the housing crash happened. I mean, guys, if you like, you can't compare 2007, 2008 when it comes to housing as you do now, because I'm telling you, it's still. I've been denied twice now for investment property loans. Okay, so it's still super super hard to get a home loan. I mean, it's still super strenuous. So even that alone, like they're still very very good on that. I agree with what Pickle said. I think right now we're seeing side effects and consequences of printing money that out of thin air. I mean, just like compared to crypto projects, right? I mean, if you just keep printing with nothing else, you have that inflation and the price of that token goes down. So just like how we see with what's happening right now, I mean, I can go and work if I have a 9 to 5 job and I'm earning X amount of money, but then a week later that X amount of money is worth less, but everything I go to the grocery store is worth more. I mean, that's going to put a lot of pressure, and you multiply that by millions of people that live here in America. It's not a good combination at all. Let's see. So we got a comment here in the chat by Santo Antonio. They said, "How does the price fall with a 576% burn?" So one thing that everybody needs to understand, and I'd love to Pickles to chime in on this as well, is just because we are doing burns, it's not necessarily going to pump up the price. All it's doing is taking tokens out of circulation. But when it comes to this price drop, I mean, just like we talked about earlier, and if you were joining late, if you did join late, just slide it on back. We were talking about the news earlier and Titan news. I mean, the consumer price index was a main factor. The report that happened yesterday, okay, that was a huge factor that just made the S&P 500 dip. And then when the stock market dips, so does Bitcoin, like we talked about earlier. And we're paired to BNB. BNB took a huge dive. So it's only so much the project can do, but we're still not immune to the overall market.
Yeah, and there's three things that directly affect price in Titano. Number one, buys. Number two, sells. And then number three, whatever our liquidity pair is, what it's doing. So burns aren't a direct they don't have a direct effect on price, but they do indirectly affect price. Essentially, they're curbing inflation, and then that means that's less Titano in circulation that people can sell. So they do affect price. It's an indirect effect, though. What you're seeing now with the price going down is a lot of it has been BNB going down, because everything's going down because of Bitcoin. And then, you're obviously when price goes down too, it's just there's more sells than buys at that time. It's just the reality of a bear market, and it's going to
Yeah.
happen across every asset right now.
Absolutely. We got another good question here by Will. Will says, "Do you guys think that at some point the burns will almost be equivalent to inflation because tokens with tens of hundreds of billions in supply generally have a very low price?" For me personally, I think that's genuinely what the team is trying to do and they're trying to achieve is they're trying to create all these different use cases and partnerships, not just a Titano casino. All right, we're not turning into a gambling platform. That's just some of the things we've done, but all these other things that they're trying to implement is to combat the inflation rate, right? So when we get to a point where they're bringing all these things onto the project that is surpassing the inflation rate, I think that's the overall goal. So what do you want to say with that, Pickles?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it a step further. I think that, yeah, the goal is to surpass the inflation rate, so that the deflationary burns are more than the inflation rate to make Titano deflationary. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, and that's what the team is building towards.
Absolutely, absolutely. Here, let me see. There is some other. Is there any other questions here in the chat? When will the next? Here's a good one. Sebastian. Sebastian says, "When will the next burn mechanic be introduced? Because I think burn from play and lottery will slow down." So here's the cool thing with play and lottery, right? And this is why I think right now we're setting a good foundation. Obviously, I don't think we need to. This is where to stop, and the team knows that as well. They're not stopping with just Betswirl playing lottery. There's already a ton of things in the talks, but they won't let us know. But when it comes to the burn mechanic, right? So how do you play lottery and play, right? You got to go and buy the token. Well, how do you go and buy the token? You go to the DEX. When you buy Titano through the DEX, that the fees, instead of getting dumped on by PancakeSwap, we're actually burning those now. Okay, so we're already there's our first deflationary like barrier of playing with these. Okay, so now you get past the DEX. Okay, now you put them into either play and lottery, and then even those have the burning mechanisms with what they're doing. So I mean, I don't. It could slow down, it could not, but even like Pickles was saying earlier, with the volume the way it is right now, and we're already seeing this crazy burn rate. I mean, what do you think, Pickles? Do you think it'll slow down or anything like that? And then we'll also talk about what's the next burn mechanic.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why it would slow down. I think people might see maybe the play prize pool is
Yeah.
less than it was the week before, or that the lottery winning pool is less than the day before. But that's actually just a reflection on the price going down. So it's not actually a reflection of less people participating. But as Austin said, I mean, you buy Titano on Switch to participate in play or the lottery. So you have burns happening from the Switch transaction, burns happening by using the lottery or play. And then if you win and you go to cash out, there's burns happening on that when you have to sell on Switch. So it's a really good system where, when people are using these different utilities within the Titano ecosystem, there are built-in burns. So I don't anticipate the burn slowing down. If you're looking at dollar amount, that might be less just because the price per token is down this week. But look at the actual total amount of Titano. So look at the Titano as one unit, not as how many Titano is $1. And when you look at that, you should still see a consistent amount, if not an increased amount of burns per week.
Yeah, and then they said, when will the next burn mechanic be introduced? We personally can't tell you. We don't know. We don't know either. Um, I do know that everything that they are going to introduce, whether that be next week, in a couple weeks, whatever they have plans on with the roadmap of introducing all this, they do have those mechanics set in for literally everything, right? So any partnership you hear from here on out, any new additional utility they add, I know the NFT thing they're trying to get done. All these different things that they're adding to the protocol does have some type of burn mechanic. It's not just going to be something to add inflation onto the project. I can speak for that.
Yeah, and one thing I can speak on though is say that the core team is constantly working. I mean, Austin and I talk to them daily, if not every other day at the least. They are
Yeah.
always building and working. They're working on securing partnerships. Uh, they're working on new utilities. They're working on developing. They're working on meetings. They're working on marketing. The team does not stop. Just because you don't see an announcement each week coming that's announcing something, that does not mean that they're not working behind the scenes. Some things take time. Some things take, I guess an appropriate word would be investigation to make sure that they are a good fit for our ecosystem. That way we don't bring in something that isn't a good fit. But they're constantly working and they're really taking advantage of this bear market because they're doing everything they can to build this up. So when this market does go bull, you are going to see the projects that I think CZ Binance had the perfect tweet. I mean, he said, in the bear markets, you can tell the difference between good projects and bad projects because good projects continue to build during bear markets while bad projects solely focus on price. And as you can see, that our team is doing nothing but continuing to build. So that for me is a good sign, and that's coming from CZ, who is one of the top people in crypto. I mean, he really knows what he's talking about. And when I saw that tweet, it really made me reflect on what our team's doing during this bear market, and it made me feel even more bullish.
Yeah, I totally agree. We got Alan here, and this will be our last question from the little mini AMA session we have. And they said, Austin, can you comment on why there is no DEX partnerships? I do know that there are a lot of potential DEX partnerships. I know a lot of projects have submitted applications for the DEX. We haven't heard back on like what specific ones there are, but that definitely is in the works. I just, again, I don't know specifically on why there aren't any as of lately. Do you know anything about that, Pickles?
I would assume that one barrier would be having Switch listed on CoinMarketCap. Um, I think everyone is aware by now of their 60-day rule for listing a DEX. I can't speak on that when it's going to be listed, but I think that those tokens would prefer, or maybe we would prefer, having Switch on CoinMarketCap before listing other tokens so that they would accurately
Yeah,
be tracked and they don't
yeah,
run into a problem like we did when we first launched V2, where we were not being tracked on CoinMarketCap. But we could definitely ask the core team that and provide you an answer within Telegram and Discord later.
yeah, and I agree. I think if some of you guys that are loyal watchers to Titano and stuff, back in like one of the main AMAs we had on this channel is we talked about because people were kind of like making jokes, but also being serious. Like, hey, why don't we have a meetup? Why don't we go to meetups and stuff like that? And one thing that I kind of made a little analogy for, right, was in Titano, well, not really an analogy, just kind of a perspective. Okay, a perspective is where Titano is still in the grand scheme of crypto, still pretty small in terms of all these major projects and stuff. Is they need to create that value, right? We need to establish a solid foundation within this project. So for these DEX partnerships, when people come onto the DEX, when people want to kind of put their name on that DEX, they want to have a strong brand. They want to have a strong project backing that up with that DEX, right? We don't want to have like Piccola said, we don't want to be not listed on Coin Market Cap, but then taken seriously by other projects by getting listed on the DEX. We want to have it as professional and as serious as possible. So that way, when we do start listing these stuff on the DEX, it's like, hey, I'm listed on the DEX, and then here, like, you know what I mean? Like no one would want to be, listed on the DEX with something like CoinMarketCap not being fixed. So once we have all these little, what we call them ankle biters, right? Like small little things done and fixed, then I think it'll be more serious as far as taking on these projects.
Yeah, I agree with Austin 100%.
All right. Well, that was the last question in the mini AMA. Like you guys said, I try to make these Titan focused or Titan talks. Oh my God, I can't talk today. I try to make these Titan talks as short and sweet to the point. I don't want these to be super multiple hour long AMA type things where a lot of people, these are meant to be digestible for you guys. So that way you don't have to dedicate tons of time to trying to get some information. Now, just a disclaimer, and I will let you guys know in the Discord and Telegram. For the next 2 weeks, I have my weekends booked for other things. So the Titan Talks for next week and then the week after next will be on Wednesday. Okay, so instead of Saturdays like we normally have them, they'll be on Wednesdays. And then after the next 2 weeks, they'll be back to normal Saturdays. So make sure you guys put it in your calendar. If you guys are marking these down, making sure whatever you want to do, make sure you have these set in your calendar for Wednesdays for the next 2 Wednesdays. But without further ado, thank you guys for coming on. Thank you guys for the questions, for donating your time, participating in the chats. It really does help. Make sure we have 121 people watching. Make sure you go and hit that like button. We have 90 likes, so we can get there. We can get over 100. Come on now. All right. And if you guys see any questions in the chats, I challenge you guys with this because sometimes I like to challenge you guys with things. So we have 121 people watching. If you are in the Discord, if you're in the Telegram, if you're on Twitter, if you're on anywhere where people are asking, hey, what's Betswirl doing? Hey, what's the lottery doing? Hey, what's play? If they're concerned and stuff like that, you guys can be and step up and be like, hey, go watch this Titan Talk where we literally broke down the KPIs, or share the titanchess.com and show that this is actually working, right? Like Betswirl lottery play, these burn mechanics that we have with the DEX, it's actually working. Don't take my word for it. Don't say Austin Clark is hyping this up. Don't say the core team is hyping this up. Say, read it for yourself, right? You don't have to read a white paper. You can literally easily look at this cool little colorful graph that Wayne made and see it right there. So I challenge each and every one of you, if you guys see anybody bringing up concerns or whatever, don't call them FUD. Don't bring negativity to this space. Literally just say, hey, man, check this out. Hey, miss, check this out, whatever. All right. So without further ado, I hope you guys have a great weekend. It is Saturday morning, my time. So I hope y'all have a great weekend. Have a great week. And I will see you guys back here Wednesday on Titan Talk. I'll see you guys later.